from Miami. Tonight in iHealth TV, we have the pleasure of having Paul Lee. He is from originally from Korea, I believe, or descended from Korea. Went to school in England and is living in the United States. And he is co-creator of a platform called Curely.co. He's going to tell us all about this. And we're also joined by a distinguished group of panelists. We'll start things off by going around with the panelists and introduce yourselves and say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll turn it over to Paul. Okay, Dr. Kim, unmute yourself there.
Yes, hello. Hello?
Yeah, hi, we can hear you, Dr. Kim. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm ENT doctor in Seoul, South Korea. Glad to meet you. Foley.
Yeah.
How do you do?
It's great to meet you.
Okay.
This is first meeting.
It is, indeed.
Okay, good. John?
Yeah, hi, I'm John Hewitt. I'm a medical writer. I really enjoy doing these hangouts with John here. I've been doing them for a while. So I just pop in every once in a while and pay attention to stuff.
Okay, welcome, John. And don't forget, Dr. Kim, mute yourself when you're not speaking.
Okay.
And Jordan?
Hi, I'm Jordan Grummett. I'm a general internal medicine doctor out of Illinois in the United States, and I also just wrote a book called I Am Your Doctor, and this is my humble opinion. It's a curated book of blog posts about the experience of being a doctor.
Welcome, Jordan, and we're also going to have a hangout doing a chat about his book. And Simon.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Lee. My name is Simon Downs. I'm a developmental child psychologist working out of Tokyo. I'm also a medical student, bilingual in Japanese and English, and also an FDA representative for a bone-conducted hearing aid. I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Simon's a regular on these hangouts. And we'll turn it over to Paul. Paul, why don't you just tell us about yourself, where you grew up, and when you started studying medicine and computers, etc.
Sure. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me, and it's great to meet you all. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was born here in Korea and went to live in the UK. Because my father worked for Samsung, and he was the president of Samsung Europe, and it was basically a big move for the whole family. And I basically grew up in England, went to boarding school at St. Paul's, went to Oxford to do my biochemistry degree, and then I had to come back for my military service because I still had the Korean citizenship. And when I came back, I decided to delay that and go into medicine, and decided to go and study at Catholic University of Korea here. After doing my MD, then I enrolled as a lieutenant doctor in the Korean Army. Now, that's when I was seeing about 100 patients a day, and every day. And it was pretty ridiculous, and I felt the whole medical system was broken, not just in Korea, but also in the UK, the NHS system, also in the US. So there had to be something that we could be doing. So I actually went to Singularity University. I'm not sure whether you guys all heard of it. Singularity University had a conference called Future Med and Exponential Medicine. And I actually went because of Daniel Kraft, who is an awesome speaker as well as a leader in the digital healthcare space. So I went to Singularity University to meet him. And at Singularity University, I found and met two of my co-founders, one being Christian Assad, who's also an interventional cardiologist, and Joshua Hong, who is a game expert. So he's a guy that brought free-to-play, a freemium model in the game business from the east to the west. So he's called the grandfather of the free-to-play model. And all three of us got together and started brainstorming of how to improve the digital healthcare and how technology can immerse with medicine and make the future of medicine brighter. And we came up with Curely.
Paul, can you tell us a little bit about what exactly Curely is, how it works, please?
Sure, definitely. So Curely is a mobile messaging constant care platform. Okay. So we're a marketplace, which means that we connect doctors with consumers around the world without hiring them or without setting a set price.
Mhm.
And we use mobile messaging just like WhatsApp or Kakao or Line because, as you all know, 85% of the world population, they do not have broadband connections, which means they can't do a Google Hangout like this or do a video conferencing. We want to reach everyone in the neglected areas as well. And the reason and the way we can do that is by changing the delivery of service, delivery of content, which is through text-based messaging. And you guys may be already familiar with this, but the mobile messaging industry is going exponentially high. And also the most common method of communication these days is through text. It's not through a phone call or video. I mean, how many times do you do a FaceTime call on your iPhone with someone like you need to talk to? But you text them constantly. So we're using that method of reducing the hassle, basically, and make the doctor-patient or doctor-consumer communication much better. So rather than going on full-on telemedicine right now, because as I told you before, I don't think the consumers are ready. I don't think the doctors are ready yet. So we want to gently introduce the telehealth and the constant care platform to both parties so that they can engage between themselves in a conversation that they have of everyday health issues. I mean, I'm a doctor as well, and you guys are all too, but I'm sure you have a lot of people phoning you up, maybe in the middle of the night, you know, your colleagues, your friends and family, asking you for advice. Okay? My point is, now we as doctors should actually get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors industry, physicians are losing their prestige. Not many people want to become doctors anymore, and the statistics say only 12% of the doctors in the US at least are happy and fairly compensated.
Mm-hmm.
They want to earn extra cash, and they need to pay for their, you know, student loans and medical school fees and all the rest of it. So they really need to earn extra cash. And the average pay in the US for a primary care physician is about 120K. Okay. So if you include the specialists as well, it becomes around 150K. That's a lot compared to, you know, other countries, especially in India or, you know, other undeveloped countries, even here in Korea. But with all the debt that they have, they really want to go out and get more work. So some people do moonlighting, some people do surveys for pharmaceutical companies. You know, we're saying, why don't you provide the advice that you already have at your fingertips using a seamless platform and help people at the same time so that they get the peace of mind and earn cash.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, there are no marketplaces in the industry whatsoever in the digital healthcare space. As you know, hospitality has Airbnb, the taxi industry has Uber. The digital healthcare space right now, there are no marketplaces that connect doctors with consumers around the world. There are no global platforms, and also there's not a platform where doctors can join freely, open up their online practices, and start curating and promoting themselves as well as their offline clinics. There's no platform as such right now. And that's the reason why we are working with, we're a Singularity University company, first of all, and we have very good ties with Singularity University. Also, we have just signed a partnership with IBM Watson to introduce AI, artificial intelligence, into our platform so that we want to empower the doctors to reduce and mitigate misdiagnosis. As you all know, misdiagnosis is a huge, huge problem around the world. And in order to prevent that, doctors need to be able to keep up with and be updated with the current medical information that's out there. It's humanly impossible to digest all the information, all the new information that's coming every day. So we're going to use AI, and we call it augmented intelligence, so that it helps our doctors on Curely to provide a better diagnosis or better prescription in the future once we go into full-on telemedicine, and get the latest information so that they can provide the best advice to the consumers or patients around the world. And another very important thing that I want to stress is that our platform is not just in English, because we just connect in the middle between the doctor and the consumer. And they basically can talk in their own languages, whether that's Spanish, whether that's Korean, whether that's Japanese. The doctors, when they curate and make their clinics, they'll just have to select the languages that they can speak, so that consumers around the world who actually want to speak in that language can choose that doctor through the filter. So we allow consumers, we empower consumers around the world to choose doctors in different specialties, in different languages, and in different price ranges, and in different geography. So it's exactly like, let's say, a marketplace like Amazon, where there's a supply and demand, basically, and we let the marketplace decide and take its course.
My first question, Paul, is what are the logistics of it? Do doctors register at your site and patients call a central number? How exactly would it work?
So it's a mobile app right now, and we're going to release the website soon as well. We're currently doing a soft launch at the end of this month. But what it is you download the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and all you need to do is sign up. As a doctor, you will have to take a picture of your doctor's license, obviously, and then your government-issued photo ID, and upload that. That's only going to be used for verification processes. As soon as you're verified, then you can open and curate your online clinic.
Okay.
And how are you going to get around some of the issues of licensure if you have physicians giving advice to either people who live in different states or countries? Because I know currently that's kind of a sticky issue.
Yes.
That's a very good question, and that's a very good legal question as well. We're very, very strict, first of all, on the legal regulations of telehealth. And with our legal counsel, whose name is Michael Cohen, he is the ex-professor of public health and the telehealth law in Harvard University. He's one of our amazing advisors, and he's the leader in the telehealth regulations. We've vetted with him that if there's no doctor-patient relationship in the platform whatsoever, then there's no problem with giving information and education. So it is a very, very gray line, and that's what I love about it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I've actually looked into something similar because at one point I was starting a website, or thinking of starting a website called Crisis MD, where I was helping people negotiate medical crises using my medical knowledge to help them interpret what was happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I researched a lot of it on my own without using legal counsel. And what I kept on coming up against is if you identify yourself as a physician, it's very sticky whether you're then giving medical information and acting as a quote-unquote doctor. And I remember that was something I tripped over quite a bit.
Right. So the current regulation states that if there's no doctor-patient relationship, then it doesn't matter what you give as an information or an education. And the fine line is basically whether you diagnose or prescribe. If you don't, then it's all information and education. Okay. That's why we want to go through that route. And that's why we're concerned with everyday healthcare, and we call it constant care rather than call it full-on telemedicine. So that's a very big difference. I don't think people are ready for full-on telemedicine right now.
That makes
Because
a
of
lot
the
of
liability issues, because of, for example, when you have to do a teleconference, for example, like this one, with a patient and a doctor, the doctor needs to take time out of his everyday practice in order to be engaged. That's a hassle for a doctor. They're busy already. The platform has to really be able to immerse into their everyday activities so that it doesn't feel like work. Doing a telemedicine session on your mobile app or on a computer is sometimes a very big hassle because you need to be presentable. You can't do anything else while you're doing it. You need to look like a doctor, act like a doctor, and you need to be sitting in one place, not doing anything else.
Okay, to be clear, you can't diagnose or treat, or you can just
Can't
give
diagnose or
information.
prescribe.
Prescribe, okay. So you
Right.
can avoid that.
Exactly. We're avoiding that currently because of the regulations as well, but we want to get the people around the world to be introduced with the concept of talking to a doctor online.
Okay.
Right now, even that is a very tall margin and tall barrier for most people.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, if you can't diagnose, can you at least do things like advise, or say I had my own CT scans that a radiologist read and said nothing about, and I just wanted to have somebody else look at them? Is there a way that I could do that with your platform?
Yeah, that's called a second opinion, and yes, that's mainly the education and the information that we're trying to provide as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
How would you pay for that? Like PayPal or something like that?
So the payment process right now is very, very simple. It's an in-app purchase for a session. So every doctor sets his price accordingly to whatever he feels like. For example, a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills will charge more than a plastic surgeon in India, for example. Now, all you need to do is buy the credits using your in-app purchase as you buy game items. It's a click of a button without even you needing to take out your credit card. So it's a one-button process. It's a very quick, seamless process.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't HealthTap been pushing? I've seen in social media quite a bit about them trying to create a similar type practice using digital medicine and their own technology. Is this? I assume this is different.
This is different. This is the only global marketplace out there. But HealthTap, it has been around for about 5 years now. They say they have 67,000 doctors, but the engagement level is pretty low. I mean, I'm a member of HealthTap as well, just to check everything out, and so is Christian, my co-founder. Their gamification and the engagement level of the doctors, they're pretty flawed, and we're pretty happy that they're flawed, to be honest with you. But they have a lot of issues, and you're right in saying that they do an online practice kind of model as well, but they're heavily based in the US, and also they do prescription and diagnosis, and it's a telecommunication as well. So they're full on telemedicine now.
Right.
How are you getting the word out? I think, for example, Christian Assad, I think he's on Twitter. I think I've chatted with him briefly in the past. Are you on there?
Currently, no. We're
that
trying to be, we're trying to be pretty stealth about this right now. But as soon as we go soft launch, we're working with PR firms as well as social media firms, and going to do a lot of campaigns on that. But all our advisors are very influential in the social media area. Yeah. For example, Christian Assad, as you know, is pretty big there. Daniel Kraft is also one of our advisors from Singularity University, and he's big in the digital healthcare space. Howard Lukes, who is also an orthopedic doctor, rather. He's the top 10 Twitter doctors in the world, and he has a very strong following on his Twitter. Raphael Grossman, who's also our advisor, as you know, is the leader in Google Glass, and he was the first one to do surgery using the Google Glass and telemedicine. So we do have a strong advisory board who can get the word out.
Mm.
when are
But
you
we're
gonna,
also
go ahead, go ahead.
but we're also working with top PR firms in the strategy to get the word out.
When do you expect to start operating?
So we're doing a soft launch at the end of this month, on the 31st of March. So when it's out, I'm definitely going to let you guys know so that you can download and open your online practices. But I will send you more information about Curely. And I think it's very important that you just fiddle around with the app basically and see whether you like it or not, because it's one of those things that's pretty easy, but you know, I want to see your reactions without me explaining the every little detail of how to use the app.
You know, from looking at your website, Paul, you talked about reputation points. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. So reputation points is a very integral part of Curely. We want to motivate and make sure that the doctors around the world can gain reputation points through their activities on Curely. So we gamified the whole thing. So every activity that a doctor does on Curely, whether that's talking to a consumer or whether that's providing information and education or the number of times he logs in a day, everything is gamified so that he earns reputation points. Now that reputation points is crucial because that's the statement that the consumers will be able to see when they're selecting the doctors who they want to choose to talk to. So reputation points in a way is a distinguishing factor amongst the doctors. And also with the reputation points, we allow them to be ranked in specialties in geographies or in different areas. And if they're ranked high, then we cut their transaction fees, because initially we take 70%. So the doctors take 70% and Curely takes 30%. So out of the $10, for example, the doctors will get $7 and Curely will get less than $3. But once the reputation point is high and the doctor is ranked high, then we give them an additional 9%. So they earn $7.9 and we get $2.1.
Okay.
So we award them economically, and it motivates the doctors.
Is this a brand new model, or are you modeling it on something else, or you kind of like get the idea of this through somebody else?
The gamification is a very internal thing, but gamification is everywhere. It's in, you know, the concept of gamification is everywhere.
Okay.
But yes, we have introduced it from scratch in Curely.
It's called
Is the reputation based on like an eBay model with feedback from the patients? And how do you match the services? I mean, is it like a buy it now, or is there actually like a negotiation bidding process that you might develop?
No, it's a buy now model. So as you say, it's basically like Amazon or Yelp is. Are you familiar with Yelp?
Yes.
The mobile app Yelp. So for example, you go on Yelp and you'll see reviews of restaurants or reviews of, you know, whatever, you know, wherever you want to go to. Basically, it's going to be very similar. So you go on to Curely, you'll browse through the number of doctors in different specialties or different languages or geography, and choose the one that feels that, you know, you want to talk to, basically according to their background, their biography, their level of expertise, and what they say about themselves. And also after every information session, then you can leave a review, leave a star rating, so that people who come after you can see your review and decide whether they want to talk with this doctor or not. So we're basically democratizing health. So we're shifting the power that was very biased towards the doctors, and we're moving that slightly towards the consumers. So we empower the consumers to search and evaluate doctors and talk to the ones that they choose.
Mm-hmm. Simon, you're quiet there. Do you have any questions?
As I'm listening intently, very, very interested. I like the idea that one does not have to be particularly presentable. You can actually focus on the message,
Exactly.
on the advice. And in the area of clinical psychology, I've been able to engage with clients, patients very well, especially patients who are not willing to show their face and get in online per se. They just want to even communicate just by email. So I can see how this is really going to work well in medicine.
Exactly. And Simon, let me add in another point. When I say information sessions, we have two information sessions. So one is a synchronous system where you're talking real time with an instant text message. An asynchronous communication method is a consumer sending the doctor something like an email. We call it an inbox mail. And the doctor can reply back within 24 hours. So we internally call it money box, because in the morning when you wake up, let's say you have 5 inbox mails, you're going to check that before you check your Gmail. You know, I guarantee you that, because that's going to be money box.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Bill Gates calls it asynchronous. Like you get to it when you can.
Exactly.
But you know how are you going to promote this? Do you have any plan yet? How are you going to get the word out in third world countries? And do you foresee a big market? I guess you already said that you're trying to reach people that aren't reached now by being in low bandwidth areas.
Yes, definitely. So what we intend to do is basically get Curely ambassadors in each country. And I think it's very crucial that we have Curely ambassadors everywhere around the world. Currently, we have about 18 around the world, Curely ambassadors. And they are doctors that will recruit other doctors. And we incentivize doctors very heavily by actually providing reputation points when they start inviting their colleagues or friends who are doctors, but also later on it's going to be monetary value as well. So if you get a doctor, we're going to pay you a certain amount of money into your Curely account so that you can kickstart your practice. Basically, the more you invite, the richer you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
So I mean, everyone here who I'm talking to right now, I mean, I'm hoping you guys all register on Curely as soon as it comes out so that we have you guys as Curely doctors and you guys promote Curely at the top of your lungs, please.
Well, you know, we briefly talked about this, Paul, the other day, that doing Hangouts is a great way to meet people, meet other physicians. I don't know, maybe you might want to consider doing that. I know we run into a lot of doctors all over the place doing Hangouts, and not just from the United States either, actually more from other countries than the United States, because they seem to be more tech hungry, like in the Eastern Europe and other countries. They seem to be more hungry for new things.
Definitely. Do
you find that to be the case? I know they look to the United States to be leaders, but it seems like the United States, well, they've seen that, they've seen this, done that, but other countries are very, to me, with Hangouts, they seem to be hungrier.
India would work well in India.
Yeah, India, they're very hungry for Hangouts.
Exactly. India, we love India because they speak English as well. So it's and they have a lot of doctors, primary care physicians as well. So they work perfectly. Yeah, we're looking for doctors all over the place, but I think it's more going to be a natural invitation process within the community itself. When we're doing a beta launch a couple of months ago, we invited 7 doctors to join, and within 7 days, we managed to get 70 doctors, 70, in 13 countries.
Wow.
And that was just through their invitations only.
Referrals.
So, yeah, and it's a very viral process, because let's say I invite you, John, and then, John, you invite another person, and he invites another person. It just grows exponentially. And that's the power of that invitation, and that's how we intend to grow. Because that's also another vetting process to ensure that good doctors come on to Curely. Because you're not going to refer to someone who's not a doctor, first of all, because you're going to lose your credibility because you're the one who's going to be invited and responsible for that invitee.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be pretty responsible when you're inviting people, and that's another verification process of a good doctor.
Will it be difficult? Like I saw on your website that people send pictures of their lesions or whatever, like a sore throat, a swollen tongue in the video. Might that be difficult for a doctor to refrain from diagnosing when they're sent a picture? Or how does one get around that? Or do you say it in a way that you don't really diagnose it?
Exactly. I think the latter part that you just said is the right way. So providing information and education is think about it this way. Rather than thinking about it as diagnosis or prescription, think about it in a way that people go online for medical information all the time, whether that's Wikipedia, whether that's Dr. Google, as we all say it, right?
Right.
So they go online and do the searches, but it's like throwing a textbook at them. They have no idea how to go through the information because they're going to be baffled and they're going to be overwhelmed with the information that they're going to get from the internet. And I promise you that most of the things that they find lead to cancer or AIDS. Okay, it's pretty ridiculous. So if you don't have the trained eye, you're going to get more scared and you're going to be more miserable. And it takes a bloody long time to do all those searches. So what we're saying is, rather than going online and asking a computer or a search engine, why don't you come and ask a real doctor for real information?
Mm-hmm. Do you foresee it as a conversation, Paul, or just a couple of words?
The session is 12 minutes, John. So
yeah.
And the doctor can increase the time limit at his own discretion.
Okay.
So 12 minutes is a long time for a session. Basically, it's the average time of a visit in the US. It's kind of longer than that, actually. The average time in the US is around 7 to 10 minutes. But yeah, so within 12 minutes, you can get a lot of things done, but you can always extend.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, the asynchronous message system called the inbox mail is very useful as well because it's cheaper than a live chat. And let's say for $1, you can ask a question to a doctor that you choose in the specialty that you want, in the language that you choose, and it's going to be worthwhile because you're going to get the answer not straight away, but within 24 hours. And with the response rate very visible to the consumer of the doctor and the response time rate, the doctors are going to be kind of pressured to answer their emails pretty quickly.
Okay. Dr. Kim, you're very quiet. Can you unmute yourself? You understand what's going on, right?
I was busy. Sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
In Korea, returning patients who have already medical records, they don't need the direct visiting office.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. So in Korea, telemedicine is possible.
Mm-hmm.
It has no problem in legal. It has no legal problem. I think so.
But well, the Korea is a little different because the actual government. I'm talking with people from the Blue House because of the telemedicine right now, and they want to do it. The government, they really want to go ahead with telemedicine, and they're looking for platforms, and Curely is one of them. But the problem with Korea is the doctors. They're not ready for it, and they don't want to do it.
Right.
And as you know, we get mail from the Korean Medical Association every now and again, all these texts about how they're going to fight this legislation and all the rest of it. So the doctors have to be ready, but I feel that they're not ready yet.
Doctors already are doing telemedicine by using the telephone. I think so.
Yes.
For the second returning visitor patients.
Right.
But
yes.
they don't know. They don't realize it now.
Exactly.
I think so. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
But the process of telemedicine, I think it has to be started outside of Korea, and it will gently be introduced. They don't have a choice. I agree with you, Dr. Kim. It is going to happen, and it's going to happen very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, with the CT that I mentioned, the example I'm thinking of is myself. I had an issue last year where I had like kind of swelling and heat and pain in the back of my head, so I got myself a CT scan through my wife, and that was all I had is a Windows-based file, and there was a radiologist that looked at it, but he didn't find anything, and he didn't answer the questions I had that I wanted to have answered about the CT scan. So I'm sitting on these files, and I have no way or no resource to actually go about getting more information.
Right.
How would I go about using a platform like yours, eventually, to first of all upload somebody or take remote control of my computer and look at my actual files and give advice?
Well, the thing you'll have to do, John, is find a radiologist on the Curely platform first. As soon as you find them, you do a live chat, and during the real life instant chat, you can upload images, files, so that the other doctor, the person you're talking to, can review that.
Okay.
So it's a very simple way of communication. I mean, I'm sure you used WhatsApp before.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. So it's exactly like that, talking to a doctor. So it's very quick, it's very on the go, and on the WhatsApp as well, you can send photos, you can send videos, you can send voice notes, right? You do the same thing on Curely. It's exactly the same. Except you're talking to a doctor who you've chosen at the price that fits you, in the specialty that you want.
You know, I was totally amazed when I first used WhatsApp just a couple of weeks ago, that how easy it was to upload images. It's much easier than email.
Exactly. Click of a button.
It's tremendously easy. One question, Paul, is there any record keeping, or is it strictly oral?
That's a very good question. Currently, we don't want to deal with the EMR or the electronic medical record because we're not a full-on telemedicine company. Okay.
Okay.
So everything is very stealth, in a way.
Okay.
And the consumers remain anonymous because I think it's a very important point. We want consumers to be anonymous because it allows them to free up their consciousness so that they can ask, questions that really affect them rather than revealing their identity.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's good.
Well, any more questions, gentlemen? Well, Paul, thanks for taking the time and keep us abreast of any new developments. And I'll certainly keep in touch with you. And you want us all to refer you doctors, correct? And
yes, please.
If you could tell us the countries that you're really searching for, it might help us in case we bump into doctors.
Definitely, will do.
Send an email and I'll post it on the website. That be on the lookout for these doctors.
I'll work on Japan.
Yeah, Simon, I'll be very interested. How about this? John, if you can send me the email addresses of everyone who participated today, I'll contact them as a group email and give you more information about Curely as well, but also give you the information that we require from you in order for us to pre-register you for Curely as a doctor. So when we go live, you guys, all you need to do is download and log in, and then we'll have your clinics already curated for you, so you won't have to go into that hassle.
Okay, we'll do that. Is the app downloadable now? Is it on in the Apple Store now?
No, not yet. It's going to come out this week. No, it's going to come out before the 31st.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Okay.
we'll wrap up this presentation. You can stick around for a second, guys. We'll talk some more. But this ends the video.